As we do on Fridays, we welcome to the studios our host, our guest with the most, I should say. I'm the host with the most, but Alan Kelly. Alan, of course, plays2run.com, which is he's the CEO of the Playmaker systems, and joins us. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
Thank you for no donuts today. By the way, I got to mention your Twitter handle at Playmaker Alan. How did you come up with that? And the reason I asked that is because people, seriously, because people asked me, they said, what's your Twitter handle? I say, at Morning Briefing. They said, man, how did you get that? It's like, well, I just said at Morning Briefing. Maybe it's because I did it like 4 years ago. But
well, our business is competitive strategy, and we have this system of influence strategies, and we call them for short plays.
Right.
And, you get into that and you realize that we all run plays. We're playmakers, and I run the play, so I'm Playmaker Alan.
I just didn't know because some people, it's sort of like, if you go to a lot of reporters, it's their name. And I don't have
that wasn't available.
I don't have at Tim Farley. Yeah, and that's what I mean. It wasn't available.
Whoever's got Alan Kelly out there, give it to me.
Yeah. They'll sell it to you for sure.
I'm sure.
Maybe that's the thing. I just thought at Morning Briefing would be good. Maybe it's almost impossible. Maybe people who wanted to get Morning Briefing, at Morning Briefing is our handle, so we got it easily. All right. All right. At Playmaker Alan. We did get a lot of positive response in the Twitterverse last week to our conversation about surrogates. And before we get into one of the things you're writing about this week, I want to ask you about surrogates. And I've been playing this week, because former President Bill Clinton, the surrogate, the big dog, former President Bill Clinton, this week on CNBC with Maria Bartiromo, talking about the economic situation. We don't want to be like Europe and all that kind of stuff. But here's what he said. She asked the question because he had already sort of set the stage for this.
So does that mean extending the tax cuts?
Well, I think what it means is they will have to extend. They will probably have to put everything off until early next year. That's probably the best thing to do.
All right, so that's earlier this week on CNBC with Maria Bartiromo. Then yesterday on the program, the Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer, here's former President Clinton.
I'm very sorry about what happened yesterday. It was what I thought something had to be done on the fiscal cliff before the election. Apparently nothing has to be done until the first of the year. So I think he should just stick with his position and then negotiate with the Republicans when possible. I really was under the impression that they would have to do something before the election. And I was trying to figure out how they would kick it till after the election. Once I realized that nothing had to be done till the first of the year, I supported his position. I supported extending him last year, but I think his position is the right one and necessary if we're ever going to get a comprehensive deal.
All right, so Alan Kelly, is this a recast? What exactly is going on here?
Well, actually, the play that he's running is it's a page we take from parliamentary debate. There's a term that was coined, guess what, in the 1980s, called a disco, where you're sort of dancing around, but technically the way we define it is you're taking one step back to take one step forward. And so it's a move or a strategy of contrition, of apology, of correction, so that you can buy back some modicum of credibility. So Big Bill's running a big disco to try to correct his misstatement. Perhaps he's seen a loophole that would allow him to come back and give a credible excuse for why he did what he did, but he nonetheless ran the play.
The one thing about that particular walk back, if you will, or disco, as you call it with the play, is that he says, I didn't realize. Well, Bill Clinton, it seems to me, realizes almost everything. I mean, he knows the consequences of if you do, if A, then B. He's got logic trees that, are to the nth degree in his head. And so when he says, I thought they needed to do something else, but I guess I was wrong. Oh, golly, shucks, I shouldn't have made that mistake. I find that difficult to believe when it comes to analyzing world affairs.
You don't think it was just a coincidence, do you?
Yeah, it could be.
That's right.
Well, all right.
But this goes back to the point that we've been, it's interesting as we go along here. The story when it comes to strategy, as you look at the plays for the presidency, has so much to do with surrogates. And in a way, it makes sense. You cannot be a politician. You cannot advance a cause, an agenda, a policy, a brand, or whatever without other people helping you. So that's where surrogates come in. But I do think it's important because we're seeing so much surrogates to also educate the listeners that there's different kinds of surrogates. In the system that I've described, and there may be others, I think that there are three. There are partners who are co-equals. There are proxies who are usually surrogates who are in some way on the dole, who are receiving some sort of compensation. And then there are what we call plants. And those are surrogates that you don't know. They are unattributed. You don't know who they are, where they are. Clinton is a classic partner. He's a co-equal. He doesn't really do anybody's bidding. He does the bidding as he chooses to. And so accordingly has very high credibility but somewhat lower control. If you take someone like an advertising consultant who we're going to speak about in a minute, I think, or say John Helenko, who we spoke about last week.
Right.
These are people who are classically proxies, who have lower control, who are lower credibility, but should have higher control because they're on the dole. Hey, I'm a poet.
Mm-hmm. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
You didn't know it either.
Right.
Your feet show it. They're Longfellows. All right. Thank you. If I can go back into that. Alan Kelly with us, Plays for the Presidency. I want to go to something you were writing about this week, the play behind the president's schmooze fests with film stars. The president earlier this week making a tour of Los Angeles.
You tell them it's still about hope and change. You tell them I still believe in the American people and the innate goodness of this country.
Now, the president was also checking off things that he had done, including speaking to this specific audience, LGBT, which was what this particular event was, because most of them, by the way, are closed to the press, or at least only to print press you can get in. But in this particular case, he was speaking to these people who are, as you write, it's where he's getting his money. That's what some people are thinking. What is it with the president of the United States, and is it just this president of the United States and identifying with these so-called celebrities?
I think a lot of people, I think on the first blush, you look at it and you go, well, these are just big events. They have a certain amount of splash. They have a certain amount of novelty. In our system, we call them peacocks. You're just simply strutting. You're creating some sort of innovation or idea just to get attention or maybe just to get money. And so that seems fine. But I think at this point, with the sort of the current beginning to go against him, maybe in fundraising, certainly in all the news and the economic indicators, you begin to wonder if what's really going on. The play that's really being run is not a bird so much as a fish. And let me explain. This sounds goofy, but there's reasons for it. It's not the peacock that he's running. I think it's a red herring. A red herring is from old terms in hunting, where you're trying to create a distraction. You're trying to throw, in this case, marauding dogs, off the track. You're trying to throw people off the direction that they're coming from toward you. So I think that this all may amount to, whether it's George Clooney or Sarah Jessica Parker or Anna Wintour. Oh my goodness, these things which are attempts to make him cool and interesting and compelling to watch the Barack Obama movie. I think to a great extent this is a big fat red herring we're seeing. Mm-hmm. That a big fat attempt to distract the populace and the voters' potential to not see and not acknowledge what's really happening in a very, very grim economy. So there's a big opportunity for Mitt Romney to come in and call him and to counter the red herring.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems to me, I remember a few years ago, that there was some kind of an ad that was like this.
There's stars above Tim's head.
He's the biggest celebrity in the world. But is he ready to lead? With gas prices soaring, Barack Obama says no to offshore drilling and says he'll raise taxes on electricity. Higher taxes, more foreign oil. That's the real Obama.
Now, we remember that from the John McCain camp, and actually I think, it resonated at that point. But this is a little bit different from what you're saying. This is now, as opposed to being something that he was hanging with celebrities and they were attacking him for being a celebrity, this is more like he's just trying to distract.
This is a piece that was two ad gurus, Fred Davis and Mike Hudome, on the GOP side got together and they did this ad. And there was even some disagreement, as I understand it, internally about whether or not this was a good thing to do.
It actually, as I recall, resonated with people at the polls for a while. It's sort of like, we don't really need somebody who's so concerned about image as opposed to the substance of what he stands for.
You look at that ad, and I've used this ad in my class at GW, and you look at the situation going on right now, and you think, boy, that's an ad that should be run now, or run again, or rehashed, or rewritten, or recut in a similar way, because I think he is very, very exposed with all of this sort of superficial, schmoozing, with stars.
Playing in Hollywood while Rome burns, kind of.
Yes.
A little bit of Nero in the fiddle.
I think they can say, I'm no copywriter, but you can imagine some sort of ad coming out that says something to this effect, in the breathless voice. Who does the president think he is? A star or a chief executive? Vote for a real chief executive Mitt Romney. You can see the setup that could happen, and I think those are the plays that we're going to start to see here.
Is that a call out?
It's actually a sophisticated, what we call harmonic of a preempt and a label. They're trying
Hold it. Let me write this down. A sophisticated harmonic.
Yeah.
Of a, okay.
Well, very often in order to accurately describe the strategies that are going on, we have to you blend them together. And so the term that I use, you can use another one if you want, is just that they harmonize. You put them together so it's a harmonic. You can maybe call them a dyad if you want, but they're preempting. They're trying to take his strength as something he thinks is his strength and turn it into weakness, and then trying to use a label. They're trying again I'm projecting that they might try again to call him the celebrity president. Okay. In other words, the superficial president. In other words, the president who's glad-handing and not attending to our damn economy. So it seems to me that, the celeb ad is the kind of thing that we could see again and we could see coming. And it's just a natural counter by Romney to the play that Obama is running.
Well, they've been pushing the one. That's something that a lot of Republicans have done for the last couple of years, and that same idea, the anointed and that kind of
I think it is time. It's easily time for them to sort of expose this self-given transcendency that he wants to have, or his handlers want him to have.
How about something like this?
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go pick out a vice president. I'm thinking Rihanna. I'll see you at the White House. And I might paint it pink. I hope that's cool with you guys. Bye.
Paris Hilton, who said, "I'm not like that old guy. I'm just hot." That was when she did the celebrity ad in 2008. I don't think we'll see that again either.
Celebrities have their own job to do. They are constantly sweeping and looking. They and their handlers and their agents are constantly looking for platforms. The play that they often need to run is what we call a screen. They need to get up and get next to things which can make them larger and bigger and project their brand more effectively to other people. This administration has signaled to the celebrity community that they're receptive. And it, frankly, is the biggest stage in the world. And so you get them coming your way. You get them coming into the White House, in and out of the White House. You get them doing fundraisers. And Obama, and I think at this point foolishly, is letting them come and be part of this mix when he really ought to be cavorting with economists, and fiscal experts and things like that, but not Sarah Jessica Parker and Anna Wintour. I think it's a mistake.
Cavorting with economists. You've conjured up an image that I don't know that I've ever had before in my life. But I appreciate it as always. Okay, go to plays2run.com. That is PLAYS 2run.com.
That's right. And Playmaker Allen.
At Playmaker Allen.
Yeah.
Does he have the capital P and the capital M?
I don't know that. I don't know. I haven't figured that out.
Very good. It's not case sensitive now. All right.
So see you next week.
All right. Thanks, Alan.